one synagogue that represents one of the real vibrant threads, you know, in Jewish history. The Greek Jews were simply those Jews of the Byzantine Empire who were conquered by the Turks, who spoke Greek. And some of them had communities that went back to the 10th century, some of them had communities that went back to the 13th, some of them had communities that were back even earlier. Crete, you see, we had one of the earliest Jewish presences, you know, which went back all the way to the 3rd century BC. You know, and this antiquity of our communities here is one of the major threads in this tapestry that we're building here, because it's a clue, in a sense, as to a very important and very disastrous change that took place in Jewish identity. The very fabric of our Jewish history, you know, the very witnesses that stand there. So, I mean, the very fact that this place is open and welcoming has meant a lot to a lot of people.
When I came in that morning, the first thing that surprised me was I couldn't discern any shapes. I couldn't tell what were the books, what was the desk, what was the computer, nothing. The space was literally just black. It was just black. There was smoke and blackness. That's all I could really describe. And that was very difficult for me personally, because it was a space that I'd spent so much time in. After the first fire, the space in here, the top half of it basically was blackened by the smoke that had come in through the window in the Ezrath Nashim. The smoke had just kind of poured in and filled up the top of this top half of the synagogue. So when you walked in here, you had a very distinctive smell of the smoke, a bit of sour smell, as well as these water-stained, blackened walls.
When I heard about the fire, I was shocked, because I immediately remembered the Kristallnacht in Germany. That was in '38. I was a child, but I remember it. And I remember the burning of books.
I only learned in the morning after the fire and came down to the synagogue, and Nikos had already called me and told me you'll be devastated if you see what happened. And I'm usually not a very outgoing and emotional person, but I have to admit, when I saw the damage in the office, I cried. And I had to sit down, and I thought because it was not only the books we lost, but also the complete archive of what had happened at Etz Hayyim for the past 10 years. So the whole story of the Reconstruction, and also the few papers that Nikos had salvaged that were testimony to the history of the Jewish community before 1945, they were basically all lost in the fire. In that place we kept about 2,000 books from the list of damaged and lost books we've been circulating. It's obvious that Etz Hayyim has a very unusual collection of books for a synagogue. So we don't only have books on Jewish history and theology, but also on Ottoman and Byzantine art history, European and Asian history in general, but also on other religions. And that's why the synagogue, which is also open to the public, so it's not a closed synagogue just for our use, has attracted a lot of visitors, not only from Chania, but from all over the world. We appreciate any help, either with books or with donations that would help us to expand our collection.
That morning on the January 17th or the 18th, we it was our resistance, you know, in our decision to rebuild and to start right away was in defiance to the act that these people had done a couple days earlier. The biggest part initially is the structural work. You know, we had to replace stairs, we had to redo walls, like we said, the ceiling in the office and the library were completely gone. And on top of all this, we have to do it in a way that's sensitive to the age of the building, to the character of the building, and also to the requirements put forth by the archaeological department here. Aside from that, we also need equipment. We need furniture, office supplies, computers. We need to try to, in some way, rebuild the archives and the database that we had. That will take time. And our biggest goal is the library and the books. The library was a big part of the study and the culture of the synagogue. But with a little help, I think we can do it.